I know how difficult it is to play every 3 days. We had a long week with a lot of trembling, and after that defeat to come here against a team that beat Liverpool, it was a tricky afternoon. But I think we started really well again. We were in control of the game and really happy to be back at the top again.
The bare minimum that we need in every game is to fight, regardless of tactics and anything else. And I just thought we were not strong enough in the duels, not competitive enough. The start of the second half is just something you cannot do in any game of football, especially in this league. And like I said, it came down to the non-negotiables of wanting to run, wanting to fight and not get beat. And the game was took away from us quickly in the second half because of that.
How about Reiss Nelson? Where did that come from?
Delighted for him. He fully deserves that, personally, for how he is, the way he's maturing, how well he's training every single day, and he's just screening for opportunities. He had one today and he grabbed it with both hands.
Well, Reiss, when you woke up this morning, did you think today was going to go like it has?
Nah, not at all. I thought it was just going to be get up, normal day, sit on the bench, and football. You never know what happens with football, and probably one of the best days. I'm delighted for it.
Mikel, first of all, congratulations. I'm sure inside you must be beaming with pride after that.
I am. I'm really happy. I know how difficult it is to play every 3 days. We had a long week with a lot of trembling, and after that defeat to come here against a team that beat Liverpool, it was a tricky afternoon. But I think we started really well again. We were in control of the game and really happy to be back at the top again.
You said on Thursday, we have to reset, we have to be much better. How much better were you today?
I think individually we were much better, and when that happens, I think collectively it has a huge impact. And we were right from the off, a different speed, different purpose, and it's not to protect the player. I think this player deserves a lot of credit, and I'm happy that they've done it again today.
Is there any news on Bukayo Saka? It did look a worry.
Yeah, he had to come off. He wasn't comfortable. He had a really bad kick in the first ball, and he could not continue. So let's see how he's.
No news yet.
No.
Just on Bukayo Saka, who went off injured there, he's going to be assessed over the next couple of days, we're told, having got a kick on the ankle. They were really slick, Arsenal, not for the first time this season.
They were excellent. I think the good thing about Arsenal now, they can mix up the game. I think today the Forest got caught out, Arsenal pressing really high, sometimes dropping, but the first clip you're going to see here, they just strangle them. If you see Arsenal's shape here, it's the 4-3-3. Tommy Osser's really high there. But what's so good about this clip is they go from one end to the other so quickly. Ben White going to get his overlap. Saka's going to come inside. And look at the desire from Martinelli to get across his defender here. And I think Odegaard, we talk about getting into pockets of space and then creating space for others. That's exactly what he does. Draws a man onto him. Saka's only got one thing on his mind. Can I get in behind? And they didn't know how to deal with it all throughout the game. But this one doesn't materialise in anything, but it was just showing you the constant threat that Arsenal had. Here you got Xhaka here pointing, give the ball to Partey. He's got so much space in the middle of the park. What Xhaka going to do is going to break the lines. Can he get in behind, which allows Jesus to make his run, then create this space? We talk about width. We talk about rotation. We talk about all these things that Arsenal are adding to their game. Now it's brilliant. One side to another, and great composure there from Nelson, who come on for the injured Saka. But this is my favourite clip of the lot. You've got Jesus here, 1 against 2 at the back there. They look like they're in good shape, the Forest here. And we've circled Nelson here, who's going to score the goal. But when you've got the width of Martinelli, with Saka, with Reiss Nelson, Odegaard getting in there, and before you'd probably see maybe Martinelli try to go 1-through-1. Now he's taking his time, getting it from one side to the other. Then it's all about the timing. Have you got a composure to pick someone out? And we see there, Reiss Nelson, that's where he's going to run, in that little bit of space here. And, Forest have got the men back. But it's the willingness to get in. And this is what we're seeing from Arsenal now. They've got so much confidence, set from that man there. If these keep it up, we'll give Man City a challenge right through to the end.
When you look at them, Mikel, as a fellow pro, do they just look like a group of players now where everybody knows their role?
Yeah, definitely. It's one of the things where you see them, you look at them, their structure, how they play, and everyone knows what everyone is. You can see with a couple of the passes that players are not even looking. They're just playing the ball, expecting someone to be there. This Arsenal team reminds me of the old Arsenal, the unbeatables. This is what you're seeing now, like, and how they're playing and the free football. And that's one thing I've got to say well done to Arsenal for, and the owners and stuff, that they stuck with Arteta and now they're reaping the rewards.
As far as Forest are concerned, painful, I think Steve Cooper called it, painful viewing, way short today in terms of competing.
Yeah, he's always spot on with his assessment, is Steve Cooper. I think when you look at their performance last week against Liverpool, everything that they did, the desire, the work rate in the game against Liverpool just wasn't there today. The organisation element to the way that they played as well. And they just started the game poorly. You know, Martinelli scores after 5 minutes, but when you look at the kind of like the phase of play, so when this ball comes out to Bukayo Saka, they're in a good line. They're in a good position. Steve Cook in the middle of the box is having a look at Martinelli. He can see him. He has to take the space away from Martinelli here. He makes a great run, granted, but have a look at that. They've got 8 players in the box, right, against Martinelli. And Martinelli takes control of that situation and gets his goal. That was one of the kind of like phases of play, and there was plenty that I could have pulled out. In this situation here, when this ball eventually gets to Thomas Partey, you've got a scenario where you've got a midfielder, Yates, up against Granit Xhaka. You've got Freuler, the defensive midfield player, against Gabriel Jesus, and Cook is occupied by Martinelli. Now, Freuler cannot just run out there and leave that space, because as you can see, Granit Xhaka just drifted in behind. He's got all the time in the world, and they're lucky they got away with that one as well. And this was a reoccurring theme that kept happening in the game. On this occasion, they've got the ball. There's no reaction from any player to say, let's get back into shape. You've got 8 Arsenal players in their own half, which tells you ain't got much to deal with at the top end. But within one pass into Thomas Partey, he's got not a player around him. You've got your right back, who should be watching that run of Granit Xhaka, but he's more obsessed with Martinelli. So 2 passes, and I'm on the edge of your box now. This is the start of the second half. You've gone in at 1-0, and within a couple of minutes, you're 2-0 down, and it's basically game over. And this is identical again. Why is my centre-forward not chasing down Thomas Partey, who's a top player? Why is my back 5 not realising that there's time on the ball, we've got to drop quicker? Everyone was just standing and watching. You're playing against one of the most informed and best teams in the league right now, and they were lucky it was 5. Could have been 6 or 7 quite easily.
Is part of that down to the fact that they are by no means a settled side?
Yes, but there's also an element which Steve Cooper kind of like touched on. It's just work rate. It's just working hard for one another. It's communicating with each other. It's staying solid as a group of players. And they were a group of individuals today.
It's
and they
just
got
basics,
exposed.
though, isn't it, as well, JJ?
Yeah.
You talk about should a drop off or that. That's what you learn as a defender. When you're up against Arsenal, if someone's got time on the ball, like JJ said, you just drop it. You can have as many players as you want. And we talk about cohesion, of course, but they're just basic errors.
Yeah.
On one of the goals, you think he's been a bit harsh, though, don't you? On the opening one?
I do.
Strikers union.
On the first goal, I do believe he's being a bit harsh, because...
Harsh on who, though?
Being harsh on Cook.
Okay.
Because, basically, the run, like the pace that he's running, that Cook's looked at him, but then with the ball being so short, Cook can't really get... Like, he could try and get across him, but because of the pace of it, and he's just got there before him. I feel like the run that he's done and the pace, I think you're taking away what Martinelli's actually done and the ball from Saka instead of
not taking it away.
defense.
I totally agree with what you're saying because of the short cross. I just think because he's only got one player to deal with, he has to take control of that space, Cook. And whatever is going on behind him, that is for Sergio Aurier to deal with. But, you know, strikers and that, you know, got to look after each other, haven't we?
Is he, mate?
And with Forest, like you saying that settling time, I feel like in the Premier League you ain't got the time to settle. You need to perform. Because if you don't perform and you don't take it when you get your opportunities, then you're going to go down.
But it's now impossible to settle if you sign 20-odd players, isn't it? So soon.
That's one thing that is difficult when it comes to football. When you get so many players and an influx of players, it's hard to find your 11. It's hard to find how each other play, because you learn by playing with each other and you learn how someone plays, and so the communication is not going to be there. So they're learning, but as the season's going. And one thing in the Premier League is you can't afford to learn while the season's going. You need to learn before the season. So one thing I feel they did to get in the situation he was is use the players that they had. And I feel that Steve Cooper should probably reward the people that got them to the Premier League and play them. Because end of the day, they got them there, and what they did to achieve the promotion to the Premier League was outstanding.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
So I feel he should try and go back to that and work from there, and then maybe drip feed the new boys in.
Complete 27 goals along the way, significant wins for City and Spurs and Brighton. Palace getting one as well, another big one for Newcastle. Leeds, their first one in over 21 years at Anfield. Another defeat for Liverpool, that is 4 for this season now. And then today, we brought you Manchester United beating West Ham by a goal to nil. We will bring you the thoughts of Eric Ten Hag once he emerges from the dressing room as well. And earlier on, of course, we saw Arsenal go back to the top of the Premier League with a 5-star show at home to the bottom club, Nottingham Forest. Just 1 goal in the first half. They really turned it on in the second, though, right?
Yeah, they did, Stephen. It's really good to see, simply because we know that Forest are going to come there, and with all due respect to Forest, we should be beating Forest. I didn't think we was going to beat them by 5, but we started very well. We put them under pressure very early. We got the early goal, and then we kind of ran away with it. It was very impressive, because they're in a place now, the Arsenal team, where they're up there. This is unfortunate in that respect to lose Saka, but they're up there now, and they're playing like a team that, yes, Forest are coming there, and we have to beat Forest, and they've done it. And bam, business as usual. Really good, delighted.
So Reece Nelson appears in the Premier League going for the first time in a year. And what a second half, 2 minutes he had there.
You know, it's such a shame to see Saka go off, but obviously sometimes as a young player you need to take a chance when it comes your way, even if it's unfortunate. Reece Nelson did that. Fantastic. Played out down right-hand side. Ødegaard and Gabriel Jesus setting him up there, and he's in the box. He's in there. If you want to play an Arsenal's front 3, you need some numbers. That means goals, that means assists. You got 2 today. I think in the Premier League before, you only had 1 before that. And this Partey, edge of the box. The weight of the pass from Reece Nelson is perfect. A bit of composure in that set. And Wrighty, that's a great finish.
Well, it's a great finish. It's becoming his party piece. But like I say, I'm pleased for Reece, because he's somebody that's had a lot of patience waiting for his chance at Arsenal. Like Owen said, hopefully, Saka's okay, but to see Reece coming on and making such an impression with the manager, having faith, with a lot of people saying Reece's time there is done and maybe they should sell him. He's stayed, he shows that he can contribute, and now it's up to him to try and be consistent enough to stay in and around that squad, because they're going to need everybody they can get, Arsenal. The depth is what's going to cause Arsenal problems, and scoring goals. So if you can get people like Reece coming in and scoring goals, Martin Ødegaard chipping in, Partey, then it takes a little bit more pressure off of Jesus, who at the moment hasn't scored for a while.
So Arsenal back on top of the table, and their biggest win at the Emirates in the Premier League under Mikel Arteta. Go then, Arsenal fans, 31 points after 12 games. Look at the teams that have had that or more in the past. Only Newcastle, famously, under Kevin Keegan in 95-96, have not gone on to finish top of the table.
Yeah, but not
Come
many.
on, Wrighty, don't give it away now.
But not many of them have had to chase down Manchester City.
That's a good point.
You party pooper.
But that is tough. It's going to be tough, But like, what I'm pleased about is the progression of the team, and they're doing what they need to do with the next game. Today was a game where they had to win it. We know that Forest were able to beat Liverpool, but at the same time, it's the kind of game that Arsenal had to win, and they had to win it in a way that made people see we're serious about being here. Top 4 was the goal, and that is what the Arsenal fans will be thinking about. But we're going to enjoy the ride. People trying to take away the joy from the fact that Arsenal are top. We're top, man, and it's a beautiful thing. But at the same time, we're not getting carried away, because we know there's a long part of the season to go with the World Cup break. So, it's just nice at the moment. Don't take away the joy from the people, man.
I tell you what,
party poopers,
man.
Yeah,
I'm telling you, people are going to be carried away after they saw that graphic there.
What do you think?
Everybody on the
but man, I didn't want to see that graphic.
Exactly.
It's going to add more pressure.
It's winning the league, and the only one that's famous is that Newcastle one, which was one of the most famous in history.
They threw away a 10-point lead, didn't they, as well?
Yeah, but you know what? I think Arsenal have earned the right to be in that position. They've been fantastic. For me, they've been the best team in the Premier League so far. And we're talking about one of the greatest teams we've ever seen in the Premier League with the Man City. So credit to them. 12 games in, They look the real deal. Can they sustain it over 38, Wright?
That's the question. That's what we'll see.
We will, and that's what we'll look forward to. So Arsenal top of the table. About Reece Nelson in a second, because here's his opportunity.
The smile on his
face.
I know.
They needed to do that, didn't they, after last weekend and the sort of tiredness, and then obviously losing midweek as well in the Europa League. Even though Forest are down the bottom, because Forest beat Liverpool last weekend, they needed that, Arsenal.
I fancied Arsenal big time. I did, Mark. I just think the quality, the confidence that they've got. Everyone's loving life if you're an Arsenal fan. You feel as though you can beat anyone. The form that they're in, the players that they've got, the manager, the feel-good factor around Arsenal at the minute. They're looking at teams thinking we could swat anyone away. Big test next week, obviously, when they play Chelsea. Yep. But I thought that was a given for me, that 3 points.
When you're a young player, and he's 22 now, Reece Nelson, and Saka's younger than him, and Saka's an England regular, you just sometimes need a chance, don't you? And you need to recognise that this is my opportunity.
This is my big chance. And look at that for composure. For somebody so young who's been on the fringes of Arsenal's first team for as long as he has done, seen players overtaking him in terms of getting in the team before him and establishing themselves, how calm he is in that situation, that's priceless. You know, and he's going to learn from it. He's going to see that Saka and Odegaard and Martinelli and all these other young players are establishing themselves as a regular Arsenal name, and he's going to want a piece of that pie. He's going to say,
tricks from Odegaard.
Yeah.
Look, this is what Arsenal have got. Look at this.
So calm, so composed. But that's what you need. You need leaders like that. And Arsenal have got so many different leaders in so many different ways. You've got the vocal ones. You've got the ones that lead by example, by putting in the hard work, the hard yards. You've got Gabriel Jesus, who has come from Man City and has been arguably a phenomenal signing for them as well. So he's picking up little bits of little nuggets of information from each one of them, and he's just trying to re-establish himself. I think, look, it's a brace. He could have had a hat-trick today as well. It's a great step. It's a great start. I say start to his Arsenal career because I see this as the beginning now.
It is really. It's
be the
effective.
beginning.
This is it. Yeah, and he came on because Saka got it. He got a couple of quite early tackles, didn't he? But obviously, from Arsenal's point of view, the World Cup is only 3 weeks away now. You just have to hope that it's precautionary. Got a couple of whacks, didn't he, early on in the game?
Yeah, he took one last week. Yeah. And I think he just rocked that ankle, so that'll be a worry. He's a brave young man as well, so he never normally gets forced off the pitch. He doesn't look in too much distress there, so hopefully that's a good sign for him and for England.
Absolutely. Thomas Partey scored an identical goal at the other end against Tottenham. This is obviously something Arsenal sort of planned. It's part of the choreography, is it, on the training ground to try and get him into a position like
He's the player for me, Mark. It depends on what you like, and I think when you watch teams like City and teams like Arsenal, Liverpool, etc., it can go from left back to centre half to Jesus. I think out of all the players, I think that make Arsenal tick. I think it's Thomas Partey.
What a finish!
I said we were watching the game upstairs, and I went, as soon as he put it in the top corner, take him off.
Yeah.
Game was done.
Protect him.
Protect him, because, in my humble opinion, I think he is so vital. I think he makes them so good.
I mean, to be where they are after 12 games, no one would have anticipated. I think the really interesting thing is, I'm not sure there are, including all the Arsenal fans, I'm not sure there are many football fans in this country who think they can win the league. And that's not because they're not, they deserve to be where they are, but because of what Manchester City are.
I've been bitten
I'm afraid
before.
the only team, who didn't win the league after a start like this was your team.
Mark, I've been bitten before. I can remember 15, 16 when Leicester were doing Leicester things, and I'm like, they can't win the league. They can't win the league.
Yeah, but they didn't have a pet Man City.
True, but they
didn't
still
have a
won
pet
the
Man
league.
City with Erling Haaland.
Listen, this has been a phenomenal start.
Yeah.
And I bet if you had a cup of tea with Mikel Arteta and you sat in the room and you said, would you take second now? He'd probably bite your hands off.
Yeah.
But while you're in this position, get your head down, keep on going, keep churning out the wins, especially in the next couple of games before everyone goes to a World Cup.
Yep.
Get some points on the board. Let's see where you're at.
Strengthen in January.
Well, there's a perfect chance. I mean, we'll talk about Newcastle as well. There are going to be 2 or 3 teams, because of our sort of concertinaed season and our hybrid season, if you like, who actually, once they go to the World Cup, the manager will be able to go to the board and go, right, we're in Newcastle and Arsenal will be the obvious 2. We're in a really good position here. We need to go again.
Yeah, absolutely. They would need to reinforce the centre midfield position just in case something happens to Thomas Partey. But aside from that, Arsenal look the real deal. They've got a great mixture of experience with Thomas Partey. They've got Xhaka, who's turned a leaf. You've got all of the young players as well who look absolutely full of confidence. I feel a little bit sorry for Saka today, getting a little bit of an injury. But aside from that, every single one of them are playing almost to the maximum of their abilities. And it's, you know, hats off to Mikel Arteta for bringing that out of them, especially after what happened the back end of last season.